For decades, Spider-Man has been an embodiment of virtue, courage, and the unwavering commitment to do what's right. From the iconic red and blue suit to his famous mantra, "With great power comes great responsibility," Peter Parker, the original Spider-Man, has captured our hearts as a symbol of hope and integrity. But what if I told you there's an alternate reality where Spider-Man isn't the paragon of virtue we've come to know?
Test subject 32 seems to be experiencing intense physical agony. Subject's exoskeleton appears to be no match for my gamma ray. Closer inspection of the thorax shows signs of the ray's beam passing directly through the subject's body.
What if, instead of the compassionate and altruistic Peter Parker, we were introduced to a character named Patton Parnell, whose actions and motives are a stark departure from the heroism we've grown accustomed to?
Oh well, time to prep test subject 33. Commencing surveillance experiment. Stakeout 16.
His hands tremble as he adjusts the focus, fixating on the girl next door with an unsettling intensity.
Subject remains unaware of being under observation. Perfect. I must collect samples from subject's living area for analysis.
Gone is the charm and selflessness of Peter Parker. Instead, we're confronted with a chilling portrait of obsession and voyeurism. As Patton Parnell finds himself amidst his peers on a school trip to Alcorp Industries, the whispers and mocking laughter follow him like a dark cloud. In the depths of his twisted psyche, Patton begins to see his peers not as individuals, but as a contagion, a disease that must be eradicated.
Burn them all before the contamination spreads any further.
As he sits quietly on the bus, his heart skips a beat as the girl he's been spying on takes the seat beside him. His surprise is palpable, though masked by a veil of unease. She leans in, her voice barely above a whisper, and shares her daring plan to rescue the animals from the clutches of Alcorp Industries testing.
I read online that Alcorp experiments on animals. Chemical burns, vivisection, DNA tampering, really sick stuff.
As they exited the bus, Patton's bully shoved him away from the girl, a sneer etched on his face.
Back off, Splatting Patton. Sarah Jane's my lab partner.
Would you knock it off, Jean? Patton's my next-door neighbor.
As they broke off from the rest of the group during the teacher's tour, Patton and Sarah slipped away, their footsteps muffled by the hum of activity echoing through the halls of Alcorp Industries.
Quick, this is our chance. In here.
However,
Violation in Biogen
So much for sneaking under the radar.
Violation in Biogen lab. Warning.
as they hurriedly worked to rescue as many animals as possible, Patton Parnell's attention was drawn to a particularly intriguing specimen, a red spider encased in a glass tube. Fascinated by its exotic appearance, he couldn't resist the urge to get a closer look.
So beautiful. It's okay. I'm here to save you. Ah!
Before he could fully process what had happened, the door burst open and the teacher stood in the doorway, eyes wide with alarm. The jig was up. They had been discovered. Later on, at Alcorp's security office, the teacher stood before the staff, offering apologies for any potential damage caused by Patton and Sarah's unauthorized entry. As the tense exchange continued, the burning sensation from the spider's bite sent waves of discomfort coursing through Patton's veins. His mind raced like a whirlwind. But he quickly found his resolve when one of the security personnel mentioned the unsuccessful attempts of contacting his parents.
They're dead.
Come again?
My parents. They're dead. I live with my uncle. He works at night.
Oh, sorry to hear that, kid. Can you give us the number for your...
No!
But then Sarah Jane steps in, offering Patton the ride home with her parents instead.
It's not his fault, sir. I put him up to it. Patton is harmless.
The next day, Patton felt worse from the spider bite.
My head feels strange. My brain's boiling over inside my skull.
As he lay in bed, his uncle's violent banging on the door sent shivers down his spine, the threat of impending danger looming ever closer.
Patton, get your lazy ass out here.
Just a second.
He lifted his head from the pillow, only to discover that his fingers were loosely webbing together. A strange and unsettling development that he had no time to dwell on as his uncle burst into the room, his face contorted with rage.
You better not be experimenting with the neighbor's pets again.
Ignoring Patton's pleas of feeling unwell, his uncle mocked him mercilessly before reaching for his belt with menacing intent.
Here's your medicine. Now take it.
Despite Patton's cries for mercy, his uncle showed no remorse, raining down blows upon him with a brutality that left him gasping for breath. Later that day, Patton found himself crawling towards the fridge in agony, his body racked with intense hunger, unlike anything he had ever experienced before. Despite his desperation, he found himself unable to keep any food down, the mere thought of it turning his stomach.
Anything I eat just comes back up.
His attention, however, was drawn to the sound of a mousetrap snapping shut nearby. The smell of blood and the faint heartbeat of the trapped mouse filled the air, triggering an instinctual response deep within him.
Can't control myself. Can't stop. Must eat.
With a sense of euphoria coursing through his veins, he reached out and pulled the mouse from the trap, devouring it whole in a frenzy, feeling a surge of energy coursing through him, his hunger finally sated.
Tastes so good. So fresh. So sweet. One measly mouse isn't enough. Need something bigger. I must find
more guinea pigs.
Not fully satiated by his earlier meal, Patton's hunger drove him to pursue the house cat. Ignoring the animal's hisses, it seemed it was about to meet the same fate. But its claws raked across his face, forcing him to recoil and stagger. He immediately shook off the shock and attempted to pursue the fleeing feline.
Get back here! What the?
To his astonishment, strands of sticky webbing shot forth from his wrist, arcing through the air with startling precision. In a flash, the webs enveloped the struggling cat, ensnaring it in a tight cocoon of silk before it could make its escape.
The more I eat, the stronger I grow. All I need is to keep feeding.
Later that night, Ted Parnell stormed into the darkened house, his booming voice demanding dinner.
Patton, you up, boy? Where's my meal? The hell? Patton, you blow a fuse or something?
Frustration simmered beneath his gruff exterior as he fumbled for his lighter. With a few clicks, the lighter sparked to life, and to his horror, he found the walls adorned with cocoons of animals of all shapes and sizes, their struggles muffled by the sticky silk that bound them.
What in the world?
It's dinner, Uncle Ted.
With great power comes a great appetite.
The next morning, while on his way to school, Patton stumbled upon a missing poster affixed to a telephone pole. The image depicted a familiar face, the same cat he had ensnared in webs the night before. But instead of pausing to ponder the implications of his actions, Patton simply shrugged it off, whistling a carefree tune as he continued on his way, the weight of guilt or remorse nowhere to be found.
Guess the cat's out of the bag now.
When he reached Octavius High, he navigated the sea of faces, and his internal monologue echoed with disdain. To him, his school peers were no more than meat, destined for the slaughterhouse.
Look at how ignorant they all are. Blind bovines, nothing but meat. I can nearly hear the dinner bell ringing.
He made his way to his locker, trying to find something to stave off the hunger that is gnawing at him with each passing moment.
This will do, for now.
As Patton consumed the webbed-up bird stashed away in his locker, a sense of primal satisfaction washed over him, momentarily soothing his hunger. Until...
Well, if it ain't old Splattin' Patton. What you doing, creep? Waiting for you to show up, tough guy. You won't be laughing when I wipe that grin off your face with my fist.
Turning to face his tormentor, Patton's eyes narrowed with a mixture of defiance and amusement. Jean's challenge to a fight during lunch in the locker room was gladly accepted. But to Patton, it was little more than a death sentence, a fact that Jean remained blissfully unaware of. As Patton made his way home after school, he noticed a kid posting another one of the animal missing posters on a telephone pole, this time for a dog. Driven by a dark impulse, he approached the kid and offered his help.
Today's your lucky day. Your pooch is at my house. Just follow me.
The kid's face lit up with hope and gratitude, eager to be reunited with his beloved pet. Oblivious to the danger that lurked beneath Patton's facade, the kid readily accepted his offer and followed him home. As he arrived home, his curiosity about the accident piqued, and he turned to his laptop to research the spider that had bitten him. As he sifted through the information, a sense of intrigue washed over him. Rather than feeling terrified by the revelation, Patton found himself strangely fascinated by the details unfolding before him.
A Apparently, the females transfer their eggs through their bite. Interesting.
Unfortunately, someone rang the doorbell.
Sarah Jane? What are you...
Have you seen Gene? He's not picking up his phone.
Why would I know where Gene is?
'Cause you two were talking at school, and nobody's seen him since.
Instead of showing concern, Patton dismissed the mention of Gene, suggesting that someone like him was beneath Sarah Jane's attention.
Look who suddenly got himself a burst of confidence.
I guess you can say this is the new me. What do you think?
I think I kinda like him.
You haven't seen nothing yet.
Patton? Patton?
Nobody ever noticed me before. You never noticed me. No longer. Now I am stronger. I am reborn. I am Spider-Man.
Get away from me!
Look what you've done now!
With her escape route blocked by thick webs that Patton had shot up at the door, she had no choice but to retreat further into the house in a frantic bid for safety. Stumbling into Patton's room instead, her breath catches in her throat at the scene that greeted her.
Oh God,
Cocoons
oh God, no.
littered the room, their eerie presence casting shadows across the walls, while a person lay strapped to the bed, their cries for help echoing off the walls.
Help me! Please!
Never had a girl in my room before. Sorry for the mess.
As Sarah fell to the floor, her body trembling with fear, she pleaded with the monstrous Patton not to harm her, her voice choked with emotion, but he assured her that he would never harm her.
I owe you my life. My new life.
Meanwhile, the cries of agony from the strapped individual continued to pierce the air, their desperate pleas for release echoing off the walls as spiders began to crawl out of their skin.
I want you to meet my offspring. Every last one of them. I need your help, Sarah Jane. I know how you love animals.
Just when all hope seemed lost, a stranger appears at the door behind them.
How delectable. What a fresh totem you are.
Who are you?
A very interesting question. You can call me Morlin. Consider me a surprise dinner guest.
As Patton charged recklessly at the uninvited guest, he was seized by the throat effortlessly.
I could smell you from the furthest dimensions. As soon as I sensed your presence, I had to find you for a taste.
As Morlan continued to unleash his relentless assault on Patton, tearing him apart with merciless efficiency, Sarah Jane's instincts kicked into overdrive as she flees the scene in horror.
So unripe, like a piece of fruit. You'll make a fine appetizer for the Feast of Thousands.
She storms out of the house, trying in her best effort to convince herself it was all a dream. The following morning, Sarah Jane sat in her room, her mind still reeling from the horrors of the previous night, desperately trying to make sense of it all. With trembling fingers, she traced the outline of the bite, her heart pounding in her chest as she tried to convince herself that it had all been a terrible nightmare. But before she could comprehend the full extent of her terror, a sudden movement caught her eye, and with a gasp of horror, she watched in disbelief as spiders began to emerge from the bite mark, their tiny legs skittering across her skin in a nightmarish procession.